All right, guys, welcome back to another technical analysis session with Akash, Mangyako, whatever you want to call me. As you can see here, I am currently working at FX Trade. I produce a lot of analysis content. Today, as always, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're also going to take a look at a couple of altcoins, and hopefully we can come up with a trade plan and even a trade setup, hopefully. Right, so let's start from a slightly higher time frame, which is the daily time frame, right? So I've been showing this chart to you. If you watched the previous videos of mine, you will understand the importance of this chart. uh, it's because this chart gives you clear demarcation of where you can be bullish, or at least where I am going to be bullish, and where I'm going to kind of remain neutral, and where I would probably start buying, right? For now, the upside target hasn't changed, which is roughly around 52k. So if you kind of get a close above 52k, right, the daily candlestick, probably even a weekly candlestick close above this would be really interesting, right? Because we would produce a higher high relative to these two swing highs over here, which I'm going to consider a single high, right? So we got a high, we got a higher high, and then we got a low, and then we got a lower low, right? So in this particular sense, we are still in an uptrend, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a major downswing. So it's not a bear market of sorts, but for now, it is still we're still in a downtrend, right? So a close above 52k, what it would do is it would provide a higher high relative to this high over here, which would make me flip bullish, right? And in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for a pullback, start accumulating my spot or even maybe long positions around here, and expect it to go 60k, go to 60k, which is like the next level. Beyond this, I'm looking at an all-time high around roughly $80,000, which is somewhere around here. Beyond this, I'm probably expecting it to hit 118, $110 per Bitcoin. So these are the three levels that I'm looking at from an extremely bullish perspective, right? For these three levels to be hit, Bitcoin at least needs to produce a weekly candlestick close above $52,000. That's where I'm going to flip bullish, right? But until and unless we get this level, we overcome this level here, I'm going to remain neutral, right? So the last time I mentioned this, I mentioned the importance of 35k level and how it was a really important level, a good support level beyond which we could probably dip lower, right? Since then, things have changed a bit, as you can see here, right? The immediate support level for Bitcoin extends from 37.3k to 39.87k, right? And the average buying price of the investors has purchased roughly 1.51 million Bitcoins is roughly 38,573. Excuse me. So I'm gonna have to change this to 38,573. That's where this the major support level is present. But just for convenience sake, I'm just going to keep it here because this is still an important level, right? Even when Bitcoin crashed violently from 25th December to roughly 25th June, the price closed above 35k. The candlesticks at least closed above 35k. So uh, although from an on-chain perspective, 37k is like the new support level, I'm still going to be considering 35k as like my make or break point. If we get a weekly candlestick close below 35k, then I'm expecting a move down to 29.8k very quickly, right? And the reason why 29.8k is important is because that's the average buying price of MicroStrategy, and that's where I'm expecting the potential bottom to form, right? Even if this is wrong, even if MicroStrategy's average price is varied since we last got this number, there is a triple tap setup that was formed here between May and July 2021. So there is quite a bit of liquidity, sell side liquidity resting below these three lows. So I'm expecting a sweep below 29.8k is where Bitcoin is going to bottom. Right, that's the first ideal position to go heavy. At least that's what I'm going to do. Apart from that, I have this potential bottom at around 22.5k, and like I mentioned the last time I came to this conclusion at 22.5 is going to be the second bottom, I referred the GIOM, which is in slash out of the money. right here it shows that beyond 38K, the next support level kind of extends anywhere between 36.4K to 37.4K, which kind of is meaningless in relative terms. So beyond this, we have 23.1K, where roughly 5 million addresses purchase 2.4 million bitcoins, right? So that's where I'm going to shift this next level to 23.1K. Right, so this is where the potential bottom is going to be. So that's it for this chart from a macro perspective. Expecting, so again, to summarize this, for now, things are looking pretty good. We could probably go higher, retest 52K, but until unless we get a weekly close below, above this, I am remaining neutral. I'm going to remain neutral. Like a weekly close below 35K is where I'm expecting the price to head down to 29.8K, and this is where I'm going to put roughly 80% of my positions, like 80% of my cash to buy Bitcoin around here, and the remaining is going to be placed around here, 23.1K. Right. So apart from these lines here, right, I'm also seeing two potential scenarios that could play out. So if you look at this here, I can see a an ascending triangle being formed here. So we could see this consolidation go out for quite some time before we actually make a move higher, right? So ascending triangles are naturally bullish patterns, and how you project a target from this is you measure the first swing high to the first swing low, which is a 27% drop. So you measure that from the breakout point, which is somewhere around here. A 27.65% would put Bitcoin roughly around 58K, which is very close to the 60K psychological level, right? So this is the target based on, let me change the color to purple. Yep. Right, so this ascending, if the ascending triangle pattern plays out, then there's a good chance we're going to see coin breakout to 58K, at least from a theoretical perspective. Now, like I mentioned, the weekly demand zone is present over here, so it's going to be a tough level to crack, right? So this is the first scenario, and the second scenario that I'm looking at is something like this. Let me just clear this out so it's a little easier for you guys to understand. Right, so although I'm comfortable using wicks, I'm just drawing this just for just to plan scenarios, right? So this is a symmetrical triangle, but if you look at it considering this particular downswing here, it becomes a pennant, bear flag to be precise, where this is the flagpole, right? This particular thing is a flagpole, and this is the flag. So this structure, like you measure 52% downswing from here, and assuming we kind of break out somewhere around here, a 52% drop. This is honestly ridiculous. Yep, 52.27, somewhere around here. This target puts Bitcoin at roughly 17.75K. Although I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just outlining all the possible scenarios. And just to be clear, the 17.7K is still in the support level here, right? So this support level extends all the way from 11.4K to 36.6K, 36.4K. So it is well within the support level. So I'm just saying, right? So if it is actually a bear flag. Yeah, so another thing that I want to point out here is if you do consider this to be an ascending triangle, right? And right, so right, so if this is actually an ascending triangle, we could see something like this play out here back in November 2018. right? So we had a similar, it's not that great, but ascending triangle works as well. So if it's an ascending triangle, we could see Bitcoin head up to 458K, which is obviously a bullish scenario. If it's a bear flag, then we could see it head down all the way to 78.7K, roughly $18,000. Although I'm not personally a big fan of this particular scenario, I don't see it happening. The maximum like downside that I see is 23K, and if I'm being conservative, 29.8K is where I'm expecting the price to reverse and kickstart another bull run. But if I'm a little bearish, 23.1K, and honestly, I don't see the scenario happening. So that pretty much sums up my macro perspective on Bitcoin. From a 4-hour time frame perspective, I just want to point out that the last time we did a video on Bitcoin, I mentioned this triple tap setup, and I also posted this setup on my Twitter. And I did a video as well for this where I expected two particular scenarios, which in which the first scenario included Bitcoin heading up to the weekly supply zone here, retesting this and then going lower to the daily demand zone, and the second scenario included it going down from its current position, right? And so far the second scenario has played out perfectly, and we've dipped into the daily demand zone here, extending from 36.5K to 38.8K, right? Bitcoin has swept, or like actually broken through the Monday's high, and we are yet to see a sweep of the Monday's low. So what I'm expecting from Bitcoin is for the price to reverse somewhere in this area, head down, sweep Monday's lows, fill the FEG here, extending from roughly 36.1K to 36.9K. Right, and the reason why I'm expecting the price to head down lower is because of this setup, which is a bearish breaker. Right, if you followed me for quite some time, I've done a couple of educational stuff uh, around here where I explain what a bullish breaker is, and with a template of sorts and a couple of setups, right? So the bearish breaker is something similar. So let me just show you what a bearish breaker is, right? So a bearish breaker usually contains a higher high, which kind of paints the illusion that the price is in an uptrend. But what actually happens is price sweeps below this demand zone. So between these two peaks, right, there's usually a red candle, which is an order block, which is a bullish order block or a demand zone. So this demand zone gets flipped into a bearish breaker when price closes below this particular demand zone here. So what's happening here, price closes below this demand zone and we get a flip of the bearish breaker. So once it retests the bearish breaker on a throwback, we short the asset over here. So basically what's happened here, if you look at this particular candlestick here, a 4-hour candlestick, it was a red candlestick and we got a market structure break, which is we got a high here, we got a swing high here, and then we got a swing high which breached this particular swing high. So we now have an MSB, which is like the first condition of a bearish breaker. So what is a bearish breaker? Yep, a demand zone forms, right? So this is our demand zone. From this point to this point, it was a demand zone, right? So we had a good demand zone where price bounced off of this level multiple times, went on an upswing, right? So next, the upswing originating from the set demand zone produces a market structure break. So what do we have here? The upswing originating from this demand zone produces a market structure break, which is what we'll mark here. Price moves lower and slices through the demand zone, converting it into a breaker. Price moves below this demand zone. It actually did this over here. Price moves below this demand zone and flips it into a breaker. So up to this point, this was a demand zone, but starting here, the price flipped it into a breaker, right? So, and now that price bounced off of this demand zone and did a full 180, I want to short Bitcoin here, which is the first setup of this video. So something like this, right? Although I'm tempted, this is going to be my target one, which is Monday's high, and the second target is obviously going to be somewhere around Monday's low. And the reason why I'm expecting Bitcoin price to head down all the way up to 37.1k is because of two reasons, right? One, Monday's low, right? And the second reason is Bitcoin kind of formed somewhat of an equal low here, if you look at this. So below which is obviously sell stop liquidity, and since we also have FEG here, you could probably play it a little risky and extend your take profit at roughly 36.2k, right? So you can expect anywhere between a 5.88 hour trade to roughly a 2.93 hour trade. For now, I'm just going to keep this here, which is a 5.05 hour trade. So yeah, this is the first thing that I'm looking at, and looking at Bitcoin kind of, or analyzing Bitcoin, doing a T on Bitcoin kind of gives you a directional bias, which is extremely important for the traders. And with this, you can look at a lot of altcoins and see what's happening, and you can try to trade them, right? So that's it for Bitcoin. Let's move on to next coin, which is XRP. Right, so XRP is a little interesting. I just want to direct your attention to this particular trend line here, right? Where the price kind of got rejected off of it multiple times here, starting all the way from 9th Feb. Got rejected once, twice, thrice, fourth time, and for the fifth time we finally broke above it roughly on 28th Feb. Price retested this, although we did get a 6-hour candlestick close below that. The price recovered very quickly and is now consolidating above this trend line, right? And we also have this demand zone here, a 6-hour demand zone extending from 0.68 to 0.70. So far this level's been holding up pretty good, although we've tested it multiple times. So testing a demand zone multiple times kind of weakens it. I am a little optimistic on XRP, mainly because of this consolidation, right? If you just ignore this thing, you can see that the price has been consolidating between this in this particular box, right? Kind of similar to the price action that you saw from 22nd Jan to 4th Feb. And what usually happens after a very after a tight consolidative range is price breaks out and you see volatility, an expansion of volatility. So that's what I'm expecting here to happen here for XRP. And if you looked at my analysis on Friday, posted on the FX Street YouTube channel, I've mentioned two particular setups here for XRP. Right, so let's take a look at this one first. On Friday, I expected XRP to kind of retest this demand zone, and that's where I expected it's a long XRP, although I didn't at the time. Yeah, I was kind of busy with a couple of other stuff, so I couldn't long it. So this is where you should long XRP, and this is where I'm expecting to take profits, right? Book profits around 0.85, and the reason for that being that price kind of formed a triple tap setup around here, so a lot of buy stop liquidity. Similarly, we have an equal low highs formed here on 0.91. That's where I'm expecting XRP to kind of form a top, right? And the second long position was that if we get a breach of this 6-hour demand zone, then the next important level would be this 12-hour demand zone, which we only tested once. That was 23rd Feb, and that's where I expected the price to see some sort of a bullish reaction, right? So this is a 2-hour trade where I'm expecting price to form another top here, but things are looking pretty good for now. I'm expecting price to form some sort of a local top around 0.80, so you could probably book profits around here. And so the reason why I'm expecting price to not go beyond this level is because of what I just observed on Bitcoin. So I'm expecting Bitcoin to get rejected at this breaker, right? So there's not a lot of space for Bitcoin to go around. And considering how XRP is kind of, the correlation with Bitcoin is kind of wearing off, not to an extent not to a larger extent, but it still follows Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up 10%, XRP probably does like 3, 4, 5%, right? So I'm not expecting XRP to break this consolidated range. So if you did watch my video on FX Street on Friday and long XRP, this is where I would book profits if I were you. So that's it for XRP. Back to my chart here. I want to talk about Rune a little bit. I think I posted the same chart here on I posted this on March 4th, which is Friday. Yep, so I posted the same chart on Friday. I wanted to take this trade, but I kind of closed my tab and I couldn't get around to taking this trade. Yeah, so I missed this. And let's take a look at, let's analyze what happened, right? So price formed a triple top setup here just below the daily supply zone, which is obviously a, a double confluence, right? It's a confluence of two signals. You already have a supply zone, which can kind of think of it as a resistance area, and you also have a triple top form here after a massive leg up, right? So there's a good chance that the price is in a distributive range here, and that you can expect price to go lower, right? But at the time, I was kind of hesitant, and I kind of missed this trade because I was occupied, so it didn't happen, right? So now the price has dropped since this point 32%, right? Even if you had waited for the price to fill this FEG and close somewhere around here, you could have booked an 8-hour trade, 25% downswing would have been amazing, but I kind of missed it. But either way, we were kind of perfect, with the setup, with the calls. So let's take a look at FTM. I was kind of looking at it on Friday as well, but I didn't post this chart because I was on my vacation. So again, this setup is very similar to what we saw on Bitcoin here. So for Bitcoin, on the 4-hour chart, you had this one tiny red candle here, which served as a demand zone at first, and then when price breached below it, it flipped into a bearish breaker, right? Something similar is happening for FTM on a daily time frame, right? So there's this one red candlestick, a blue candlestick for now. This blue candlestick, there was a high, and then there was another higher high. Right, so the price did produce a market structure break relative to this particular swing high. So we now have a bearish breaker. So if you go look at it from a 4-hour time frame, I'm expecting to short FTM around 1.5. Right, so this is the second setup of the day. It's not that great of an RR. It's just 1.15 R. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to take this trade. But one thing that's really enticing, like it kind of makes me want to think again for not taking this trade, is because of this equal low that was formed here around 1.29, roughly 1.30, right? And then we also have this demand zone. Was it on a weekly time frame? No, it was a daily time frame, right? So right, so we also have this daily demand zone here, right? So I'm not expecting the price to go a lot lower, right? So we'll flip this into resistance level, right? So from a 4-hour time frame perspective, you can expect the price to retest this demand zone here at roughly 1.26. So you kind of get a 1.19 hour trade, not bad. So yeah, this is the second setup of the day. No, actually it's the third setup. So that pretty much sums up today's session. It was quite long. I also want to take this time to appreciate the support that I'm getting here with the views. Considering the views, I think we're at an uptrend. I hope this continues. Again, if you enjoy the analysis that I bring to you guys, where I kind of go into detail on a particular setup, what a bullish breaker is, what a bearish breaker is, and why this level is important, and why I am bullish beyond this level. So this detailed explanation is only, like, I find it easy to do, especially after seeing the support that you guys are providing. So if you enjoy these sessions, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, which is over here. I'm gonna be posting the link to my channel Yeah, so I'm going to be posting the link to my channel on my Twitter. So yep, have a great day, safe trading.